All right, we are back. Whoa. Man, I need a real woman in my life, man. I'm tired of these stats. I mean, I ain't fucked no thought in a long time, so it's not even like that, but I don't even fuck with thoughts. I don't. Wait, hold on. Yeah, probably a couple. All right. Anyway, let's get back. Let's get back. I'm getting all over the place. But yeah. Ah, fortunately, only the genii. Man, the title of this video gonna be crazy. I gotta think of a good title for this video, man. Anyway, because if I just say like sex transmutation, that don't really, that's not really like, it doesn't have that panache, that pistachio. It's no pistachio. I need something more catchy. Anyway, unfortunately, only the genii have made this discovery. Others have accepted the experience of sex urge without discovering one of its major potentialities, fact which accounts for the great number of others as compared to the limited number of genii. Genii, basically like genius, plural, genii. Let me read that again because that didn't make sense to me. So I'm pretty sure it didn't make sense to you either. Alright. Unfortunately, only the genii have made this discovery. Others have accepted the experience of sex urge without discovering one of its major potentialities, a fact which accounts for the great number of others as compared to the limited number of genii. That's why there's not too many geniuses out here, man. There's not too many geniuses out here. Okay. And the thing is, anybody can become a genius. That's another lie. Yeah, there's a lot going on, man. But yeah, anybody can become a genius. Anybody can do it. For the purpose of refreshing the memory in connection with the facts. The purpose of refreshing the memory in connection with the facts available from biographies of certain men, we here present the names of a few men of outstanding achievement, each of whom was known to have been a highly sexed nature. There were some freaks. No, I'm joking. The genius which was theirs undoubtedly found their source of power in transmuted sex energy. So they may have been freaks, but that don't mean they use their freakiness the way regular people do. You know what I mean? They used it in a better way. There's a lot of names here, but I'm only gonna say the names that I'm familiar with. So we got George Washington, Napoleon Bonaparte, William Shakespeare, Abraham Lincoln, Ralph Waldo Emerson. I'm not sure who Ralph Waldo Emerson is yet, but Bob Proctor talked about him a lot. So I probably need to know who is. Andrew Jackson, Thomas Jefferson, Woodrow Wilson. Yeah, the other people I don't know. So, but yeah, you are all great people. Your own knowledge of biography will enable you to add to this list. Imagine that. Find, if you can, a single man in all history of civilization who achieved outstanding success in any calling, who was not driven by a well-developed sex nature. Driven by a well-developed sex nature. Oh man. I'm sweating like a man. If you do not wish to rely upon biographies of men not now living, take inventory of those whom you know to be men of great achievement. And see if you can find among them who is most highly sexed. Ha! Yep, there's a name that comes to my mind, but I'm not going to speak on it. I don't want to be disrespectful, that's why. But we know who, we know. Sex energy is the creative energy of all genii. Sex energy is the creative energy of all genii. There never has been and never will be a great leader, builder, or artist lacking in this driving force of sex. Long story short, you can't be jacking off. And yeah, long story short, guys. Long story short. Find other ways, man. You don't gotta jack off. Find other ways. Use that as motivation, you know what I mean? The goal really is to find a wife. But you know, if you don't got no wife, find somebody that could turn into, well, I don't even want to say that. But you get my drift. You get my drift. Find you a wife. That's the drift. Find you a wife. Don't waste no time on them thoughts. Find a wife. Let's get it. Surely, no one will misunderstand these statements to mean that all who are highly sexed are genii. Let's not get it fucked up, man. Man attains to the status of genius only when and if he stimulates his mind so that it draws upon the forces available through the creative faculty of the imagination. Chief among the stimuli with which the stepping up of vibration may be produced is sex energy. Sex is the most powerful of all the stimuli. Look at my Instagram, flooded with thoughts. Flooded with thoughts, man. Flooded with thoughts. Booties everywhere, boobies everywhere, scans, everything. But fuck that. I need a wife. I need somebody that's gonna, yeah. I need somebody, man. Somebody, please. Oh, man. The things we do for love, man. Crazy. The mere possession of this energy is not sufficient to produce a genius. The energy must be transmuted from desire for physical contact into some other form of desire and action before it will lift one to the status of a genius. Yeah, man, you gotta do something with it, you know? Just because you got it don't mean nothing. You gotta do something with it. Far from becoming genii because of great sex desires, the majority of men lower themselves through misunderstanding and misuse of this great force to the status of lower animals. Oh, that's funny, man. Why men seldom succeed before 40? That's interesting. I discovered from the analysis over 25,000 people, 25,000 people. That's a lot of people, chat. That men who succeed in an outstanding way seldom do so before the age of 40, and more often they do not strike their real pace until well beyond the age of 50. You know, men get better with age, man. Men get better with age. That's why women like older men. They got this shit together. But who would have thought it comes down to their dingling, you know? It's so basic, yet so important. This fact was so astounding that it prompted me to go into the study of its cause. most carefully, carrying out investigation over a period of more than 12 years. 12 years, man, that's a long time. There's a lot going on outside. This study disclosed the fact that the major reason why the majority of men who succeed do not begin to do so before the age of 40 I'll be back. The mystery of sex transmutation. The 10th step towards riches. The meaning of the word transmute is, in simple language, the changing of transferring of one element or form of energy to another. The emotion of sex brings into being a state of mind. Because of ignorance, on the subject, this state of mind is generally associated with the physical. And because of improper influences to which most people have been subjected in acquiring knowledge of sex, things essentially physical have highly based and because of improper influences to which most people have been subjected in acquiring knowledge of sex, things essentially physical have highly biased. Okay, I don't understand this one. Alright, let's And because of improper influences to which most people have been subjected in acquiring knowledge of sex, things essentially physical have highly biased the mind. Okay, big word. Alright. The emotion of sex has back of it the possibility of three constructive potentialities. They are permutation of they are They are the perpetuation of mankind, the maintenance of health as a therapeutic agency. It has no equal. The maintenance of health. Okay, let me do this again. The emotion of sex has back of it the possibility of three constructive potentialities. They are the perpetuation of mankind, the maintenance of health, and the transmutation of mediocrity into genius through transmutation. The transformation of mediocrity into genius through transmutation. This is what I'm interested in. How are we gonna do this? Sex transmutation is simple and easily explained. A word. It means switching of the mind from thoughts of physical expression to thoughts of some other nature. Switching of the mind from some physical expression to thoughts of some other nature. Okay. Sex desire is the most powerful of human desires. When driven by this desire, man develop keenness of imagination, courage, willpower, persistence, and creative ability unknown to them at other times. So strong and impelling is the desire for sexual contact that men freely run the risk of life and reputation indulging in it. When harnessed and redirected along other lines, this motivating force maintains all of its attribute of keenness of imagination, courage, etc., which may be used as powerful creative forces in literature, art, or any other profession or calling, including, of course, the accumulation of riches. Which is why we're here, right? To get this money. How do we get money? That sounds weird, but bear with me. But how do we get money with sex, right? And I know that sounds crazy, but bear with me. Bear with me. The transmutation of sex energy calls for the exercise of willpower. To be sure, the transmutation of sex energy calls for the exercise of willpower. To be sure, but the reward is worth the effort. The reward is worth the effort. The desire for sexual expression is inborn and natural. The desire cannot be and should not be submerged or eliminated. Cannot be what? The desire cannot and should not be submerged or eliminated, but it should be given an outlet to forms of expression which enriches the body. It should be given an outlet to forms which enriches the body. Okay. Mind and spirit of man. Okay. If not given this form of outlet to transmutation, it will seek outlets to purely physical channels. So either you direct it or it directs you, basically. Basically, a river may be dammed and its water is controlled for a time, but eventually it will force an outlet. The same is true of the emotion of sex. It may be submerged and controlled for a time, but its very nature causes it to be ever-seeking means of expression. It is not transmuted into some creative effort. Well, if it is not transmuted into some creative effort, it will find a less worthy outlet. Fortunate indeed is the person who has discovered how to give sex emotion an outlet through some form of creative effort, for he has, by that discovery, lifted himself to the status of a genius. Scientific research has disclosed these significant facts. The men of greatest achievement are men with highly developed sex natures. Men who have learned the art of sex transmutation. The art of sex transmutation. Damn. So there's a method to this madness, apparently. The men who have accumulated great fortunes and achieved outstanding recognition in literature, art, industry, agriculture, and professions were motivated by the influence of a woman. Well, okay. Motivated by women, eh? All right. The research from which these astounding discoveries were made went back to the pages of biography and history for more than 2,000 years. For more than 2,000 years. Okay. Wherever there was evidence available in connection with the lives of men and women, of great achievement, it indicated most convincingly that they possessed highly developed sex nature. All right. The emotion of sex is an irresistible force. Is an irresistible force against which there can be no such opposition as an immovable body. Against which there can be no such opposition as an immovable body. When driven by this emotion, men become gifted with superpowers for action. Understand this truth, and you will catch the significance of the statement that sex transmutation will lift one to the status of a genius. And you will catch the significance of the statement that sex transmutation will lift one to the status of a genius. The emotion of sex contains the secret of creative ability. The secret of creative ability. Okay. Destroy the sex glands, whether in man or beast, and you have removed the major source for action. Oh, that makes sense. You know, after you bust a nut, it's a wrap. It's a wrap. All right. Ready to go night night after you bust that nut. For proof of this, observe what happens to any animal after it has been castrated. Man. My aunt used to have like 5 cats, and they were all castrated, of course. But I'm pretty sure that, you know, it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same. They started getting fat. Not all of them, but you know, it wasn't the same. It wasn't the same for sure. You know, but that's what the veterinary, wait, how do you say it? The vet, right? That's what the vet, you know, was talking about, because, you know, cats or whatever, they like to mark their territory. So they used to be peeing on the couch, you know, the bed, the sheets. You know, you can find them in the closet somewhere trying to, you know, catch a breeze. You know, I like cats. They chill. They're a little bit, you know, full of themselves, but I like them. They're cool. Some of them, not all of them. Some of them are actually cool, but the ones that I grew up with, like, they were cool, I guess. They were cool. They were cool. A bull becomes as docile as a cow after it has been castrated. Sex alteration takes out of male. Sex alteration takes out of male, whether man or beast, or the fight that it has. Sex alteration of female has the same effect. You know, in some African cultures, I heard they cut women's clit, you know, supposedly, so she doesn't run away. I heard something like that. And yeah, that's crazy. That's crazy. That's crazy. That is crazy. The woman mind. Oh, now I'm talking about women. All right, hold on. Get yourself together, buddy. All right. The human mind, all right, the human mind responds to stimuli to which it may be kept. Okay, hold on. The human mind responds to stimuli to which it may be keyed up to high rates of vibrations, known as enthusiasm, creative imagination, intense desire, etc. The stimuli to which the mind responds most freely are the desire for sex expression, love, a burning desire for fame, power, or financial gain. Financial gain, right? That's why we're here, guys. Financial gain. Financial gain. Music, friendship between either those of the same sex or those of opposite sex, friendship between either those of the same sex. A mastermind alliance based upon harmony of two or more people who ally themselves for spiritual or temporal advancement. Mutual suffering, such as that experienced by people who are persecuted. Autosuggestion, fear, and narcotics and alcohol. Narcotics, right? So weed and alcohol, right? Weed and alcohol, or like some other drugs, I guess. The human mind responds to stimuli to which it may be keyed up to high rates of vibration, known as enthusiasm, creative imagination, intense desire, etc. The stimuli to which the mind responds most freely. Okay. The desire for sex expression, love, a burning desire for fame, power, or financial gain, music, friendship between either those of the same sex or those of opposite sex, a mastermind alliance based upon the harmony of two or more people who have allied themselves for spiritual or temporal advancement, mutual suffering, such as that experienced by people who are persecuted, autosuggestion, fear, and narcotics. The desire for sex expression comes at the head of the list of the stimuli that most effectively set up the vibrations of the mind and start the wheels of physical action. So basically, the desire for sex is the strongest desire. You can use everything else, weed, alcohol, music, whatever, but sex is like the most powerful desire. 8 of these stimuli are natural and constructive. 8 of these stimuli are natural and constructive. 2 are destructive. The list here presented for the purpose of enabling you to make a comparative study of the major sources of mind stimulation. Hold on, man. What am I reading? The list is here presented. Okay. The list is here presented for the purpose of enabling you to make comparative study of major sources of mind stimulation. Okay. Make comparative study of the major sources of mind stimulation. From this study, it will be readily seen that the emotion of sex is, by great odds, the most intense and powerful of all mind stimuli. I just said that. I just said that. This comparison is necessary as the foundation for proof of the statement that transmutation of sex energy may lift one to the status of genius. Statement that transmutation of sex. Let us find out what constitutes a genius. Some wiseacre. I'll be honest. Some of the words kind of go over my head. But I'm trying to get the concept of whatever. Okay, so some wiseacre has said that a genius is a man who wears long hair, eats queer food, lives alone, and serves as a target for the joke makers. Well, Exhibit A. Motherfuckers used to make fun of me all the time, man. All the time. And I was just taking it because I was like, well, damn, I don't want to cut them off, I was scared of being alone, right? The fear of loss of love, something like that. So, when they used to make jokes or call me names like Yams, of course I felt insulted, but I acted like it didn't affect me. Until one day, I blew up, and it came out in a weird way. I was probably intoxicated or whatever. And I talked to that guy who used to call me Yams, and I had a few words to say. But the interesting thing about it is that it took years for me to finally find that confidence, you know what I mean? To step up and be like, this is what I've been dealing with. And of course, it's not the best way to go about it because we're no longer friends, right? But it's a great lesson because Nobody should take any form of abuse just because they're scared of being alone. Like, if something doesn't feel right, you know, like if you are being made fun of, it's kind of like bullying, and bullying is not okay. But you know, when you're a genius, that's the kind of shit you go through, you know what I mean? But enough about that. A better definition of a genius is a man who has discovered how to increase the vibrations of thought to the point where he can freely communicate with sources of knowledge not available to the ordinary rate of vibration of thought. A better definition of a genius is a man who has discovered how to increase the vibration of thought. Man who has discovered how to increase the vibration of thought to the point where he can freely communicate with sources of knowledge not available to the ordinary rate of vibration of thought. Okay. The person who thinks will want to ask some questions concerning this definition of a genius. The person who thinks will want to ask some questions concerning this definition of a genius. The first question would be, how may one communicate with sources of knowledge which are not available through ordinary rate of vibration of thought? The next question would be, are there known sources of knowledge which are available to genii? And if so, what are these sources? And exactly how may they be reached? We shall offer proof of soundness of some of the most important statements made in this book. Or at least we shall offer evidence to which you may secure your own proof through the experimentation. And in doing so, we shall answer both of these questions. And I hope we catch a fair one, to be honest. You know what I mean? I hope we catch a fair one. But, it is what it is. It is what it is. And a fair one doesn't have to be like fighting or anything. It could just be like an honest, man-to-man conversation. Because I still got love for niggas, man. I do. It's just an understanding that has to be reached. You know what I mean? But we never made it that far. You know how men are with the ego and shit. So yeah. It is what it is, man. But I still got love for you. You know what I mean? I do. And I'll be remiss if I said that I didn't miss you. But there's a lot of things that we need to talk about or whatever. If we talk about anything at all. Genius is developed to the sixth sense. The reality of the sixth sense has been fairly well established. The sixth sense is creative imagination. The faculty of creative imagination is one which the majority of people never use during an entire lifetime, and if used at all, it usually happens by mere accident. A relatively small number of people use with deliberation and purpose effort, thought. What is this one? The faculty of creative imagination. Those who use this faculty voluntarily and with understanding of its functions are genii. The faculty of creative imagination is the direct link between the finite mind of man and the infinite intelligence. All so-called revelations referred to in the realm of religion and all discoveries of basic or new principles in the field of invention take place through the faculty of creative imagination. I gotta improve my reading skills, man. I do, and I will. I just gotta keep at it. When ideas or concepts flash into one's mind through what is popularly called a hunch, they come from one or more of the following sources. A hunch. So basically, like, when you just feel something, you don't know where it comes from, but you just know. It's like your intuition, It's the hunch. I'm gonna make a Naruto parallel, if you will. If you watch Naruto, there's a part in Naruto where Kakashi Sensei talks about a hunch, and I just thought about it. But yeah, that's true. Anyway, let's read this again, because does it make sense right now? When ideas or concepts flash into one's mind to what is popularly called a hunch, they come in a form from one or more of the following sources: infinite intelligence, one's subconscious mind, wherein is stored every sense, impression, and thought impulse, whichever reach the brain through any of the five senses. From the mind of some other person who has just released the thought or picture of the idea or concept to the conscious thought, or from the other person's subconscious storehouse. So hunches So hunches come from the infinite intelligence, the subconscious mind, wherein is stored every sense, impression, and thought. One thing about this book is the sentences are like packed. You know, he's an artist in the way he put those sentences together. It's not just tic-tac-toe, like it's da-da-da-da-da-da-da. You know what I mean? It's like you gotta, it's like you reading it and you thinking about the whole thing while you're reading it. It's crazy. So it's definitely not one of those books you can just read one time and be like, yeah, I read it. Like, nah. I'll probably read this book for the rest of my life, every day. That's how deep I'm in. And that's how beneficial it is. Especially if you're trying to get the big money. You know what I mean? Like I'm trying to get the big money. Which I already have, you know what I mean? It's a state of mind, first of all. But anyway, let me get back to it. So yeah, hunches come from infinite intelligence. And if you don't understand what I'm saying, just pause it, rewatch it, Google it, you know what I mean? You don't have to feel like you don't understand something or you stupid. Like, nah, if you don't understand something, just Google it. That's it. There's a lot of stuff I don't understand that I'm reading right now. And trust me, I'm Googling. I'm doing my own research. But a lot of those things in here is things that I heard of or heard about before. So, you know, the synchronicities, you know, are happening. Ça va? Ah, ok. Tu dis quoi? Je vais couper, c'est pas grave. Tu dis quoi? Mais parle, tu dis quoi? ideas or concepts flash into one's subconscious mind to what is popularly called a hunch. They come from one or more of the following sources. Like we said, I keep repeating it because I'm not getting it. So I hope you're not getting annoyed. I'm still trying. I'm trying. So give me some grace, yeah. Infinite intelligence, one's subconscious mind, wherein is stored every sense, impression, and thought impulse, which ever reach the brain through any of the five senses, from the mind of some other person who has just released the thought or picture of the idea or concept to conscious thought, or from the other person's subconscious storehouse. I'm still not getting it, but we're not going to keep repeating it. We're going to move forward. But yeah, we're going to move forward. There are no other known sources from which inspired ideas or hunches may be received. The creative imagination functions best when the mind is vibrating due to some form of mind stimulation at an exceedingly high rate. Creative imagination functions best when the mind is vibrating at an exceedingly high rate. That is, when the mind is functioning at a rate of vibration higher than that of ordinary normal thought. When brain action has been stimulated to one or more of the 10 mind stimulants, it has the effect of lifting the individual far above the horizon of ordinary thought, and permits him to envision distance, scope, and the quality of thoughts not available on the lower plane, such as that occupied while one is engaged in the solution of problems of business and the professional routine. Engage in the solution of the problems of business and personal routine. When lifted to this higher level of thought through any form of mind stimulation, an individual occupies relatively the same position as one who has ascended in an airplane to a height from which one may see over and beyond the horizon line, which limits his vision while on the ground. Moreover, while on the higher level of thought, the individual is not hampered or bound by any of the stimuli which circumscribe and limit his vision while wrestling with the problems of gaining the three basic necessities of food, clothing, and shelter. Here is in a world of thought in which the ordinary workaday thought has been effective. Here it is in the world of thought, in which the ordinary workaday thoughts have been effectively removed, as are the hills or the valleys, and the other limitation of the physical vision, where he rises in an airplane. That was a long one. That was a long one. Like I said, he's an artist with it. Artist. While on this exalted plane of thought, the creative faculty of mind is given freedom of action. The way has been cleared for the sixth sense to function. You ever heard of the sixth sense? There you go. The way has been cleared for the sixth sense to function. It becomes receptive to ideas which could not reach individual under any other circumstances. The sixth sense is the faculty which marks the difference between a genius and an ordinary individual. The creative faculty becomes more alert and receptive to vibrations originating outside the individual's subconscious mind. The more this faculty is used, and the more the individual relies upon it and makes demand upon it for thought impulses. I was reading the biography of the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, yesterday. I didn't read the whole thing, but it's a great story. It's a great story. You need to check it out. You know, I'm still reading. That's why I don't want to say too much about it right now. But it's a great story. From what I, learned so far. This faculty can be cultivated and developed only through use. There's no other way. You gotta use it or you lose it. That which is known as one's conscious operates entirely through the faculty of the sixth sense. Oh, by the way, I had to come in with the bean, you know what I mean? Yeah. I couldn't show the bean before because my hair wasn't, you know what I'm trying to say, right? It wasn't looking right, but I did what I did, and here's the bean, the chili bean. A girl I used to date back in the day used to say, like, my my hair looked like a basketball. Hey, what can I say, man? I'm blessed. But yeah, let's get back to it. The great artists, writers, musicians, and poets become great because they acquire the habit of relying upon the still small voice, which speaks from within, through the faculty of creative imagination. It is a fact well known to people who have keen imagination that their best ideas come through so-called hunches. That's crazy. Like, you be taking a shower and the ideas just flash in your mind. It happened to me before, that's what I'm saying. But yeah, it happens at the most randomest times. His ideas just flash. And you gotta act on it, you know what I mean? It's like a muscle. You gotta use it or it gets weaker. But before all that, you gotta set a goal. You know what I mean? You gotta have a target. And then things just happen for you. And when they do, you gotta follow it. Because everything happens for a reason. So yeah, there you have it. The great orator who does not attain to greatness until he closes his eyes. Well, there is a great orator who does not attain to greatness until he closes his eyes and begin to rely entirely upon the faculty of creative imagination. You know, that's one thing about me. Like, I used to know a lot of shit, you know what I mean? And I used to feel like I got it. But that's the thing. You either learning or you not. There's no such a thing as an educated individual. As the great Bob Proctor said. You know what I mean? You gotta learn something every day. You can never feel like you already got it. It's a process. It's a price you gotta pay. You gotta pay to be the boss. You know what I mean? There's no other way around it. And I didn't get that back then. But you know, you live and you learn. But of course, that comes out of the habit of, you know, wanting something for nothing. Like, no, life don't work like that. You gotta pay the price, man. You do. You do. You do. When asked why, he closed his eyes just before the climax of his oratory and replied, I do it because then I speak through ideas which come from me, from within. Ideas which come from within. One of America's most successful and best known financiers followed the habit of closing his eyes for 2 to 3 minutes before making a decision. When asked why, he said, with my eyes closed, I am able to draw upon the sources of superior intelligence. Basically, like, Jesus, take the wheel, you know? Jesus, take the wheel. Shorty said, if you don't believe that Jesus Christ is your Savior and Lord, you can't get no pussy. I was like, word? Okay. I respect you. But I got my own thing. You know what I mean? I got my own way of thinking. I'm spiritual now. I'm not religious anymore. And that's my choice. But it's like, like, I'm having a writer's block or vlogger's block, whatever it is. But it will come back. It will come back. The late Dr. Elmer R. Gates of Chevy Chase, Maryland. Hey, that's my neighbor. Chevy Chase created more than 200, wait, hold on. More than 200 useful patents, many of them basic, through the process of cultivating and using the creative faculty. His method is both significant and interesting to one interested in attaining the status of a genius. In which category Dr. Gates unquestionably belong. Dr. Gates was one of the really great. Dr. Gates was one of the really great, though less publicized. I never heard about him. I heard about Bill Gates though, but what's his name? What's his name? Dr. Elmer R. Gates. Yeah, I never heard about him. In his laboratory, he had what he called his personal communication room. He had a personal communication room. Now, what is that? It was practically soundproof and so arranged that all light could be shut out. It was equipped with a small table on which he kept a pad of writing paper. In front of the table, the wall was an electric push button which controlled the lights. When Dr. Gates desired to draw upon the forces available to him through his creative imagination, he would go into his room, seat himself at the table, shut off the lights, and concentrate upon known factors of the invention on which he was working, and remaining in that position until ideas began to flash into his mind in connection with the unknown factor of the invention. So basically, he put himself in a dark room and just let ideas come to him. Long story short, he focused on whatever the issue was until ideas just started to come. On one occasion, ideas came through so fast that he was forced to write for almost 3 hours. He was getting a download from the universe, you know what I mean? A download from God. It kind of sounds like Muhammad, Prophet Muhammad. But that's another story, which I'm still learning about. Okay. On one occasion, the ideas came through so fast that he was forced to write for almost 3 hours. That's crazy. That's crazy, but that happened to me before. I'm not going front. That happened to me before. You know? But I'm not sure what I did with it though. Oh, you might want to check out my Instagram. Shameless plug, man. Check out my Instagram. Shameless plug. I'm gonna put my Instagram in the link below. But it's basically Novablog, just like, you know, my YouTube channel. Oh, man. Oh, by the way, if you want to know why I'm kind of not flowing like I did yesterday, I didn't eat yet. You know what I mean? So I'm kind of not focused like I'm used to. But, you know, it's cool. It's cool. It's cool. When the thoughts stop flowing, they examine. Well, when the thoughts stop flowing, and he examined his notes, he found they contained a minute description of the principles which had not a parallel among the known data of the scientific world. Sound like he got possessed, if you ask me. Sound like he got possessed. Moreover, the answer to his problem was intelligently presented in those notes. In this manner, Dr. Gate completed over 200 patents that had been begun, but not completed by half-baked brains. I gotta read this again. In this manner, Dr. Gates completed over 200 patents that had not begun, but not complete. In this manner, Dr. Gates completed over 200 patents that had been begun, but not completed by half-baked brains. Evidence of the truth of this statement is in the United States Patent Office. Dr. Gates earned his living by sitting for ideas. Wow. Imagine that. Earning a living just by sitting for ideas. That sounds like the life, man. Dr. Gates, man. The life. He was living the life. You get paid for your ideas? Okay. Dr. Gates earned his living by sitting for ideas for individuals and corporations. Some of the largest corporations in America paid him substantial fees by the hour for sitting for ideas. Sitting for ideas. Okay. I need to write this down, man. Write this right here. thing for ideas. Sounds like a pretty sweet job if you ask me. The reasoning faculty is often faulty. The reasoning faculty is often faulty. And that's what you're witnessing in this very exact moment. My reason is telling me you haven't ate all day. You should probably not be making a video right now because you need to eat. But my mind is telling me, just do it. So you're witnessing whatever the result of that is. You know what I mean? But I'm already hip because I read it before. You know, this book is incredible. The mind likes to play tricks on you. You know? The whole purpose of this book is to show how much the mind can affect you, and why you need to beware of your thoughts and your actions. You know, that's why I was telling Shorty the other day, like, you know what I mean? You trauma dumping. And again, I'm being understanding, but I'm not no therapist. I'm not no therapist, you know? But I can tell you this. If you keep continuing to focus on negative thoughts, you're gonna attract a negative situation. So you gotta switch it up, man. You gotta talk about what you want, you know what I mean? Your goals, your aspiration. And that's gonna come to you the same way. But again, it turned into a whole argument, so forget about it. And I think she blocked me. She sent me like a couple messages, and then she blocked me. But I just deleted the messages, you know what I mean? I deleted, like, in the past, I would read the message and then be like, damn, she blocked me. But I already know the song, so whatever, you know. One thing for sure, I'm attracting the right woman for me. This woman is not for me, obviously. So yeah. The reasoning faculty is often faulty because it is largely guided by one's accumulated experiences. Not all knowledge which one's accumulate through experience is accurate. Ideas, and that's my thing. Like, I used to think that, you know, I was so high and mighty because of the knowledge that I had, or that I have rather. But it's not just about knowledge, man. It's about application. You know, you gotta apply the knowledge. You know, you gotta show for what you know. You know, one thing I read in this book is that you're not gonna get paid for what you know. You're gonna get paid for what you do for what you know. You know what I mean? So that's what it is. Ideas received to the creative faculty are much more reliable for the reason that they come from sources more reliable than any which are available to the faculty of the mind. The major difference between the genius and the ordinary crank inventor may be found in the fact that the genius works through his faculty of creative imagination, while the crank knows nothing of his faculty. Like Einstein said, imagination is more important than knowledge. He was right. He was right, man. Imagination is where it's at. The scientific inventor, such as Mr. Edison and Dr. Gate, makes use of both synthetic and creative faculties of imagination. For example, the scientific inventor or genius begins an invention by organizing and combining the known ideas or principles accumulated through experience to the synthetic faculty, the reasoning faculty. If he finds this accumulated knowledge to be insufficient. Okay, hold on. There's a lot going on right now. See if it's still recording. Yeah. Okay. All right. We're Gucci. All right. Okay. If he finds this accumulated knowledge to be insufficient for the completion of his invention, he then draws upon the sources of knowledge available to him through his creative faculty. The method by which he does this varies with the individual, but this is the sum and substance of this procedure. He stimulates his mind so that it vibrates on a higher than average plane, using one or more of the 10 mind stimulants. For some other stimulants of his choice, I don't know what other stimulants this could be. All I know is that sex is the most powerful one. If you can control it, that is. And that's why I'm reading this. This is for the purpose of controlling or redirecting the sexual energy. The Kundalini energy, I don't want to sound like I got a 10-fold kufi on, but Kundalini, Google it if you don't know what that is. I will go into it, but just Google it, man. Just Google it. He concentrates upon the known factors, the finished part of his invention, and create in his mind a perfect picture of unknown factors, the unfinished part of his invention. He holds this picture in his mind until it has been taken over by the subconscious mind, then relaxes by clearing his mind of all thought and waits for his answer to flash into his mind. I feel like I need to read this again. Wouldn't you agree? He holds his picture. He holds his picture in his mind until it has been taken over by the subconscious mind. Basically, you gotta have a clear mental picture, right? But if you really want something, you already do have a clear mental picture. So it should be relatively easy. So you hold the picture in your mind, then you relax by clearing out everything you think about, and then you wait for the answer to flash into your mind. And I'm guessing you do that when you are in a closed space, you know what I mean? Like your room or somewhere where you're not going to be disturbed. There you have it. Sometimes the results are both definite and immediate. Definite and immediate. At other times, the results are negative, depending upon the state of development of the sixth sense or creative faculty. So the sixth sense is also called the creative faculty. That's interesting. I used to think that you gotta be like one of the chosen ones, you know what I mean, to get the sixth sense. But apparently, everybody has it. Interesting. Mr. Edison tries out more than 10,000. Wait, hold on. Mr. Edison tried out more than 10,000 different combinations of the idea of thought, the synthetic faculty of the imagination, before he turned in to the creative faculty and got the answer which perfected the incandescent light. So that's how Edison made the light bulb. Basically, his experience was similar when he produced the talking machine. Imagine failing at something 10,000 times. I think that's how many times he failed or something. 10,000 times. And keep going. You gotta have the heart of a lion for this kind of shit. Failing 10,000 times. That's crazy. But he had an image. He had an idea. And he just kept working at it, kept working at it, kept working at it. The same way Ford made the V8 engine, which was, at the time, impossible. You know? What is impossible, really? What is impossible, really? There's plenty of reliable evidence that the faculty of the creative imagination exists. This evidence is available through accurate analysis of men who have become leaders in their respective callings without having had extensive education. Oh yeah, Ford didn't have a college degree. I don't think Edison had. I might be wrong, but I don't think Edison had a college degree. But they still did great things. You know? They still did great things. I dropped out of college, so Yeah. Just like Mark Zuckerberg, you know what I mean? I wish I would have dropped out sooner though. Honestly. What a waste. Lincoln was a notable example of a great leader who achieved greatness through the discovery of use of his faculty of creative imagination. He discovered and began to use this faculty as a result of the stimulation of love, which he experienced after he met Anne Rutledge, a statement of the highest significance in connection with the study of the source of a genius. The pages of history are filled with records of great leaders whose achievement may have been traced directly to the influence of a woman who aroused the creative faculty of their minds through the stimulation of sex desire. The stimulation of sex desire. So that don't mean they were fucking necessarily, you know, but they were definitely inspiring, you know. Women have something in them that just motivates a man, you know. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing. Napoleon Bonaparte was one of these. When inspired by his first wife, Josephine. Josephine! Irresistible and invincible. When inspired by his first wife, Josephine, he was irresistible and invincible. He was Superman, basically. You know? Thanks to wifey. When his better judgment or reasoning faculty prompted him to put Josephine aside, his better judgment, his reasoning faculty, remember, reason is faulty. Reason is faulty, guys. But anyway, so at first, he was invincible and he was Superman. Thanks to his wife, Josephine. But when his better judgment or reasoning faculty prompted him to put Josephine aside, he began to decline. Damn. So not only women can make a man, but they can also destroy a man. Women are nothing to play with, man. Nothing to play with. I went through depression behind that shit. Ugh. Anyway. His defeat and Saint Helena were not far distant. If good taste will permit, we might easily mention scores of men well known to the American people who climbed to great heights of achievement under the stimulating influence of their wives, only to drop back to destruction after money and power went to their heads, and they put aside the old wife for a new wife. You can't do that, man. If you got a wife, you gotta keep her, man. Don't think because you're getting that money that you can just put your wife to the side. Well, I'm a different kind of guy, I guess. But I'm not gonna talk about it because ain't nobody perfect out here. So I'm not gonna act like I didn't make mistakes or whatever. But yeah. If you get a wife, keep her. That's the goal. Keep your wife, man. Napoleon was not the only man to discover that sex influence from the right source is more powerful than any substitute expediency that may be created by mere reason. Meaning, fuck them thoughts. You know what I mean? You got a wife. A wife is better than 100 thoughts. But you gotta find the wife, And maybe I need to make a video about that, like how to find a wife. But I heard a saying basically, he who finds a wife has found a good thing, or something like that. And that's crazy, man. Like, I haven't been in the dating scene for like 3 years, so I don't know how it is right now. But from what I heard, and nothing in them streets, man. And nothing in them streets. So if you find a wife, man, you gotta take care of her. You gotta keep her. She's super essential, man. I think that's why, they call women like helpmate or something. I don't really like that word, but I definitely understand the helping part, you know what I mean? Like, yeah. Yep. I pray that when I meet my wife, I stay faithful to her and we have a great life. I pray for that. I wish for that. I pray for that. I desire that. And therefore, I will manifest that. Yes. It is so. Voila. The human mind responds to stimulation. Among the greatest, most powerful of these stimuli is the urge of sex. When you got to go, you got to go. When harnessed and transmutated, this driving force is capable of lifting man into that higher sphere of thought, which enables them to master the sources of worry and petty annoyances, which beset their pathway on the lower plane. You know that Jay-Z song, Jay-Z and Beyonce song, Upgrade, where Jay-Z's like, how you gonna upgrade me? I'm already number one. Man, that's what I'm talking about, man. I'm not gonna talk about anything else, but just listen to Upgrade by Beyonce and Jay-Z, and you get the picture. Women are the key, man. Women are the key. 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 Oh, I'm gonna bump that song. Now I gotta bump that song. I'll be right back. I'll be right back. How you go from 16 to 19? Yeah, that's a good thing. That's a good thing. All right, I'm back. Hold up. Okay, we good? Okay, cool. Anyway, this study disclosed is the fact that the major reason why the majority of men who succeed do not begin to do so before the age of 40 to 50. This is their tendency. Is their tendency to dissipate their energies through the overindulgence in physical expression or the emotion of sex. Young, dumb, full of cum. Ha ha! Shit, I did it. If I wasn't fucking, I was jacking off, feeling tired. That's why I love God, man, because He put somebody in my life that, I consider him like an older brother to me. And he told me straight up, and it's not like I talked to him about my life or whatever. But when some people just have the spirit in them, so they can see right through you. And we're talking about some random shit. And then he was like, you gotta stop jacking off, you know what I mean? And when he told me that, I was so fucking embarrassed, first of all. That's the word, embarrassed. And then my pride took over. And then I don't know what I said after that. Or I probably didn't say anything, I just listened. But it stuck with me. Because it's like I knew it, but it's like to hear it from somebody else that you haven't even talked to about subject like that, that's just a sign that, God's speaking to people, you know what I mean? I finally took heed to it, but it took some time, I'm not perfect. It took some time, but here we are, you know what I mean? Here we are. The majority of men never learn that the urge of sex has other possibilities, which far transcend in importance that of mere physical expression. When I first read that before, I was like, yeah, whatever. Ain't nobody control this. You know? The mind is strong, but the body is weak, man. You know? You gotta train the body, man. You gotta train the body to obey the mind. Otherwise, your body is gonna run your mind, and that's backward. We don't want that. We want elevation. You know what I mean? We want success. So we gotta apply mind over body type vibes. And I'm the first one. I'm speaking to myself right now. So yeah. The majority of those who make this discovery do so after having wasted many years. I wasted many years, man. Shit, if I'm honest with myself, I feel like I wasted my 20s. I'm 29, about to be 30. If I would have been on the path I'm on right now back then, woo, I would have been. But we're not gonna focus on what could have been, you know. We are where we are, and it is what it is. You know? It is what it is. So if you're younger than me, don't make the same mistakes. You know what I mean? Learn from me. The majority of people who make this discovery do so after having wasted many years at a period when the sex energy is at its highest, prior to the age of 40 or 50. Usually, it followed by noteworthy. I gotta read this again. The majority of those who make this discovery do so after having wasted many years at a period when the sex energy is at its height, prior to the age of 40 to 50. This usually is followed by noteworthy achievement. It's like once they make that discovery, you know, they get it. They on it now. So if you can get it before you get 40 to 50, man, you're ahead of the game. You're ahead of the game, and you should be proud of yourself. Hopefully I make it before, but we'll see. Let me switch that around. I will make it way before, and you will see. How about that? I like that. I like that. You know, you gotta speak life into yourself. That's what I was telling somebody to do, so I'm telling myself to do it too. That's how it is. Let's see, is this good? 24, okay, cool.